Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. This is going to be a lot of fun because we're with my good friend Scott Elliott, who is going to tell us about his 5 favorite metal amp sims.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Hey, do you like the scenery?
I do.
Got some.
It's snowing.
It's my favorite time of year.
It's snowing in your background there, in just a little area like this.
Yeah.
Is that a Warlock?
I love winter. It's a what?
Is that a Warlock? What's the guitar?
Yeah, BC Rich Warlock. That's my main. I love Warlocks. I love BC Rich.
Come on, I knew what it was.
Yeah. So you're already a metal expert. You know what I mean?
Definitely not a metal expert, and that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the top 5, Scott's top 5, because everybody's going to have different opinions, and that's okay. Please leave them down below. I will encourage Scott to come back and comment and discuss with you. Scott's top 5 metal amp sims. Now, we spoke to our mutual friend Christian Kohler last week, and he gave us his top 10 amps, and there was definitely some good discussion on that. A lot of people were quite upset that he didn't use the EVH, of course, the 5150. Myself included, because of course I have an EVH, I proudly use one, and I'm a huge fan. But it just wasn't to Christian's taste. So the reason why I bring it up is I wonder if there's going to be a bit of that with you, Scott. There's things, maybe industry standards, maybe not.
Well, I mean, I have to be honest. There's no PB on my list, but it's not really. I didn't really sit there and say, it doesn't work. I've used them in the past, particularly the EVH3.
Yep.
I don't really know the technical name, but that one, just I'm looking for a particular sound, and it's cool. But I mean, it's sort of not quite what I usually think of. And I think people are going to be really surprised by this list, to be honest.
Okay. Well, coming in at number 1 is what?
The Neural DSP Fortin Nameless. It's, it is a gain monster. I love it. It's my first choice for anything that I'm working on. It's the plugin that I like to just jam with by myself. I just love the way it sounds. It's versatile for what it does. You need gain. You want to have that sort of Marshall-esque type of tone. That's what the Nameless does.
Great. And you were telling us about 2 pedals that come with it.
When it originally released, it just had the grind, which makes it a really hard, glassy attack, which I'm not a big fan of. But when they introduced the hex drive into it, it instantly became much more interesting for me. Just more girth into the tone and a softer top end that I particularly like.
Great. Well, I'd like to hear it.
Well, you're in luck. So the Nameless, right off the bat here, this is what it looks like. Many of us know what the Nameless already is. Straight away with the interface, it's streamlined, left to right, the way that I kind of like it. And I kind of just have these are pretty much just go-to default settings that I always start with. Always want to make sure that if you're recording or if you're testing out guitar tones, double track them, because it's really hard to understand what it will sound like by itself. So when you double track them, that's another cool way to, with a hard pan left right, you can really understand what the guitar tone will sound like a little bit better. And just to preface, there's no processing on anything here, so everything that we're going to look at here, you can see there's no processing, no EQ, so it's just a straight raw tone. So yeah, it's an awesome high gain. I love this type of sound when I want to just get a nice brutal death metal type of sound. And the cool thing about this particular mod is this note is very picky. There's a lot of stuff going on, but you can dial the amp to where you get just the right amount of attack, and you can actually mess with the bass knob a little bit so you can keep the tone sounding full, but it doesn't get lost in translation with all the muddiness going on. But the Nameless this is all about high gain. So yeah. That's the Fortin Nameless.
Okay, so coming in at number 2 is what?
The Mercuriall ReAxis, which is based off the Triaxis. Have you ever used the Triaxis before?
No, I've used the Neural, but I've never used this.
So the ReAxis is just a recreation of the Triaxis, which it's basically a rack unit that has basically all of the Mesa circuitry, so you could go from Mark 1 to a Boogie. type of sound. But I particularly like this one a lot because you can there's a dynamic voice button, because all the gain staging is done all the tone pops are pre-gain. So you always, in the Mark amps, you have the equalizer after. But you just have the dynamic voice switch and just basically a big old smiley face EQ curve. And you can get some really great thick low-end tones with a soft presency high-end that I'm particular to.
Right. Well, we have a dual rectifier here, like a real one. Is that something you feel like a sound you can get with this plugin?
A bit, but I mean, it's a bit more, I don't want to say digital because people are going to kill me, but it's not as, I wouldn't say as mid-range. I think you get more of a scooped sound with the Triaxis ReAxis things. But you can get a super high gain boogie-esque type of sound out of that.
Fantastic.
Right, so here's the ReAxis, the Mercuriall ReAxis, again, based on the Triaxis like we were just talking about. I do want to, again, iterate that everything is pre-gain, okay? So you have to set up this amp in a different way than you normally would with any other amp because it's all pre-gain. But the great thing about this amp you just look at this. We have all the options that we could ever want from rhythm, lead, super clean, to super ultra high gain. And this dynamic voice thing here is really, really cool. And I think what I'll do here is I'll just zero this all out so you can just hear what it sounds like right away. And then I'll just mull the tone real quick. Yeah, so I really like this one because in contrast to the Nameless that we just listened to, the low end for this one generally can stay pretty tight. Well, this is one of the first plugins that I was using, 2 or 3 years ago, where everything was baked into the plugin. You didn't need anything else. And then also this was a huge upgrade from Mercuriall at the time where you could now start blending microphones right in the plugin itself. So this is a fantastic plugin that I really love to use when I want a tight low end. And I don't really want something that's necessarily obvious, like, oh, that's a Marshall, or oh, that's a dual rectifier. But I want the gain, and I like that high, soft presence type of a sound. So, yeah, I love the ReAxis for stuff like that.
Number 3. What do we have coming in at number 3?
So, at number 3, we got a Nembrini Audio. This is the MRH 810 version 2, which is based off the JCM 800 2210. So it's 2 channels. So you got the clean channel and then the lead channel, but also you have a reverb bank. And this has basically become my go-to for atmospheric black metal type stuff because Marshall is essentially used in that genre quite often. And I just love that amp. It has that classic Marshall sound to it. It's a JCM 800 and Nembrini Audio, it's Igor Nembrini who does a lot of the stuff for Plugin Alliance, So, I mean, he's got a lot of experience doing amp simulators. And
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a fantastic plugin. Okay, yeah, next up, the Nembrini Audio, the MRH 810 V2. With the V2, the interface is updated, just a couple of other fixes. But the main thing I really love about this plugin, it differentiates itself from the regular JCM 800 in that we have clean channels and a reverb pot, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I also love this particular plugin because now we can clean the low-end rumble. We got a noise gate in here, and we can also do shaping with our microphone positions. And I kind of like having these dials here where I can just basically go like that. It's really fast for me. I really enjoy it, and it's quite quick. And we got a selection of amps here that we can go through if we want. But I really love this plugin. You can also import your own impulses if you want. You can completely bypass it if you want to use a third-party loader. So all that's in here. So what I've got here is I've got a demonstration of the lead channel with tons of reverb, and then I have a a riff that I would write in black metal using this particular amp. There is no tube screamer or anything in front of this. This is just a straight amp. Yeah, so that would be a classic black metal sound right there. But Marshall is a classic choice for black metal, and I tend to use this amp, and specifically this amp. It's my first choice with any black metal project that I want to work on, or if I just want to have a Marshall-y sound that's not super high gain like the Nameless.
Next, coming in at number 4, what do we have?
Could you believe it? It's another Neural DSP plugin, but it's the
I believe you.
It's the Omega Granophyre. Now, this thing is markedly more modern sounding, has more mids, and I really enjoy using this one if I just want that, okay, this is the modern sound that I want, especially if I'm using 7-string guitars or I'm in very low tunings. It just has that girth that you can get in the low end. But the really cool thing that I enjoy about this plugin in particular is that Omega AmpWorks included a proprietary speaker that they created. So, you know, I love speakers, I love different sounds. So you can get another speaker and different sound with a bigger selection of microphone choices. And, you know, I just really love experimenting with that stuff. Plus, I mean, and the other thing I really love about it is you have a low and a high gain feature where if you really want to just saturate way beyond probably you should, you can flip on that high gain and crank it, or you can crank it with the low gain setting and still get a nice thick, you know, chug chug, as our Christian friend would say, cola. Yes, the Granophyre, when you want all of the gain plus a modern, very modern sound, this is a fantastic amp for that. And like I said, you can change between high and low gain input stages here. For saturation or less saturation. But the one thing I didn't mention when we were just talking, Warren, was that you can change the tubes here. So you can just go from 6L6s to EL34s to KT66s. All right, so you have all of that. So what does all that gain sound like? It basically sounds like this. Yeah, I really love that. It's very high gain, super modern sounding. And that's on the low gain setting here. As you can see, I have the low gain enacted there. And I really like that I have a lot of room here. I can decide if I want to do more or less. I mean, without completely, like, if there are some amps out there where you go like that and it's like, boom, all the mids. This is really neat. You got a good range of motion here where you can, you know, have like more minute details of mids. So that whole range, I mean, personally, I'm totally fine with. It would just depend on what I'm working on and how it sits in the mix. But yeah, so Granophyre is a fantastic, super high gain, ultra modern sound that, you know, I just love. And anytime I'm in really detuned guitars, I usually grab this.
Fantastic. All right, last but no means least, at number 5.
Ignite Amps Emissary 2.0. Got to go with that. Got to show some love to Ignite Amps. It's a free plugin, but it has.
Oh wow!
It doesn't have any of the. Yeah, it doesn't have any of the pitfalls of many free plugins that are out there. It's also versatile because it has gain for days. You can. What I really like about it is you can adjust high and low mids, so you can really dial in, you know, your low mids, which are usually a problem with metal guitars, especially in low tunings. There's a lot of buildup in that area, and buildup in that area in metal is a no-no because snare, bass guitar, and all that other stuff. So you can really adjust those to tone pots, and then presence control, depth control. You just have a lot of control, and for a free plugin, it's nearly unbeatable. So I love using the Emissary.
That's great. Well, we love free.
Free is good. Only if it is good, though. I mean, just because it's free, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but I just love the way you can shape the low and high mids. I think it's really important. Yes, off to the Emissary, the free Brutal plugin beast. So this does not come with a cab IR loader within the plugin. So what I've done here is I've actually loaded probably one of my favorite impulse packs from Lancaster. This is the Angle Pro. This is actually included in the Chernobyl Studios bundle, handpicked by me. I use this thing all the time, and I just really, really love it. So I have the Angle Pro Impulse here from Lancaster. Here's the actual plugin. So you just saw that even without a tube screamer, this thing is super high gain, and it would be just fine in a modern death metal mix. I know, enable it. Awesome. And like I say, this plugin too, even though it's free, it has high and low mids that I really like to work with. You can also change the shape of the mid bump. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. You can deepen the low end. You can brighten the overall sound. Okay, and you have a clean channel here, which I didn't do anything with the clean channel. But the Emissary 2.0 is pretty much world famous for being, if not the best. And well, I mean, I use it if I want a plugin that's free and I just want to do something quick. Ignite Amps Emissary 2.0 is usually my pick all above anything else. Last but not least, as with most Ignite Amp stuff, you can change the tubes here from EL34s to 606s or KT88s. Yeah, just overall great value for being completely free, and it can get the job done.
Thank you ever so much. I love hearing that. It's been a lot of fun having you here. There is, of course, a course that you can get where, I don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about your great course?
All right. Yeah, Mixing Extreme Metal. It's 10 hours long, and it's a full production course. So mixing actually is about 1/3 of the entire thing, and a lot of it is I deal with the art of pre-production. You know what it's like to look at raw drum stems, put them back in phase, edit them, fix some of the edits if you need to, consolidate tracks, get them ready for mixing, looking at DIs, bass, vocals, making sure everything is good to go, because that's just an aspect of audio production that seems to get overlooked quite often. And with mixing extreme metal, you know, you have to really control what you're doing. You know, you can't really let things fly like maybe in a rock session where, you know, things might be a little tubby here and there, but it's not a big deal. You have to be pretty surgical, really pay attention to what's going on. And so I show all of that, you know, with the metal context, like this is what we're looking at, this is what we need to do, because there's lots of double bass, there's lots of blast beats, there's even this thing called the gravity blast, which is where you do double strokes with one-handed on the snare with your hand. So it's a lot of extreme techniques from the drummer side, many different layered guitars, layered rhythm guitars, layered melody guitars, solos. Show you how to create 3 different guitar tones so they can all pop out in the mix and have their own unique identity. Because there's nothing worse than trying to use a single sound and trying to find a way to make all these, you know, different parts pop out.
Been there many
you can
times.
do it, but it's significantly more difficult.
But that's why I have like 6 amps.
Exactly like that, right? Yeah, that's a really good point. So I show how to do all that. I also show what it's like to tune up some vocals, condense 25 choral vocal performances into 4 stereo tracks for easier mixing. And I also teach the art of automation and why it's important and what to listen for and how to control dynamics in the song and how to approach mixing in that fashion to try and create the best listener experience, which for some reason, you know, in metal, you know, that sort of gets overlooked again, but automation is quite easily probably one of the most important tools in mixing. You can only get so much done with EQ and compression and all that good stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, some parts of the song just have to be turned down at certain times for other things to poke through. So I mean, and I know you've done a lot of vocals in your day.
Incredibly detailed course, to say the least.
Absolutely, and like I said, 10 hours, and it's from the beginning, A to Z. We start with the first pre-production session of drums, and I take you all the way to creating a stem mastering session.
Amazing.
What that means, what you have to do, because it dawned on me that some people out there didn't know that stem mastering even existed. So what that means, what you do, how you have to bounce things down. And if I may, you get all of the Cubase sessions, all of them. Okay.
Great.
You get the multi-tracks, of course, to mix. Go ahead and mix it. Put it on your portfolio, please. It's awesome. Practice is necessary. You get my Cubase preferences, key commands. I mean, everything. Absolutely everything. And a curated Discord group. So we keep the trolls to absolute minimum. So, yeah, it's A to Z, everything you could ever want to know about mixing extreme metal.
Amazing. And even if it's not your genre, I highly recommend it, because if you're a studio owner, you're a producer, you're an engineer, and you're a mixer, there's all kinds of work out there in all kinds of genres. And I love what Scott does. He's been very successful with us, and people love his work for many good reasons.
And I can make one last note to what Warren just said. The editing part alone, if you became good at editing, that could be a career for you. And I paid a lot more money than what I'm offering this course for to learn how to edit drums properly. So even there are sections of this course where you could literally niche in. Be like, I'll be a really good editor. And if you do a good job and you get really good at it, guys like Warren will be like, please edit all this. I don't want to do it.
Cool. I might send it to you.
But I mean, there are a lot of skills here to learn that you can, I mean, by all means, you can be successful in not just the mixing part. You know what I mean? People love not having to do pre-pro. You get good at that, people are happy to pay for it. I mean, I've made lots of money doing that myself, so.
Wonderful. Well, thank you ever so much, Scott. I really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, man.
Please leave any comments and questions below. I'm sure I can twist Scott's arm to come back and answer them. And have...
I don't know.
Go on, you know.
I'll be happy to, of course. Yeah, I'm already waiting.
Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Thanks ever so much.
Have a good one, guys. See ya.